According to USDebtClock.org, our country's national debt is currently at $18 trillion dollars and it's continuing to increase. Now, to put that in perspective, according to Forbes magazine, Apple's current worth is $700 billion. dollars. Our national debt is 26 times that amount. That's an absurd amount. And as I get closer to getting a job and as I get closer to facing taxes, I began to wonder where are those taxpayer dollars going? What's it being spent on? And now, in order to avoid the entire Republican Democratic argument, I decided to focus on one issue of a local government to minimize that entire debate and provide one simple focus. And so one day as I was driving home, I passed 3 cop cars in driveways of private homeowners. And so I began to wonder, are take-home cop cars a valid reason for taxpayer dollars to be spent? And so today I'm here to answer that question. I'm going to give you several reasons to prove that it's not effective. I'm going to give you several reasons to prove that, yes, it's a cop car belonging to one person, so it's going to be taken care of better, but the use going to and from the office are going to outweigh that. And then I'm going to show you that there's no rules, and these guys can do whatever they like with these cop cars, and we're the ones paying for it. So, and then I'm also going to give you several things that you can do about it. So, starting off, is it necessary? Are these cars effective? According to Assistant Police Chief Troy Gay of the Austin Police Department, 150 cop cars are taken home outside the city limits of Austin. 46 cars are taken home inside the city limits of Austin. Of the 150 cars taken outside the city limits, 27 officers were called back into work in 2013. 27, that's it, out of 150. Now, out of all the cop cars, 30.3% were called back in 3 times or less, and 46% were called in 5 times or less. Now, that's not just emergency responses. Sometimes this is just a standard call back in, hey, we need you to work another shift. So as you can tell, these take-home cop cars aren't used very often. Or if they are used, it's for a different purpose, which I'll touch on later. So, along with just a standard cop, there's cold case crime units and public information offices that are allowed to take these cars home. Now, neither of those sound like very emergency responder type people, and they aren't. They don't respond. They're not the first ones responding to a 911 call, yet they're allowed to take cars home, and we're required to pay for their gas. So, if I'm not mistaken, that's not a very good use of our money. And of these people, including the police officers, they can live outside the city limits, and one person, the farthest they live away, is 75 miles from the city of Austin. So they commute to and from work 75 miles each way. That's an insane amount of distance to travel, and that's a lot of gasoline, and that adds up over time. Now, also, if you're living outside the city limits, you have no jurisdiction in that city. You can't arrest somebody in a neighboring city of Georgetown or Leander because you have no authority. So what good is a cop car in a different city? It's not. It's just sitting in front of the driveway, and it may deter a local home robbery or something. Now, the next question that I wanted to consider is, the cops are going to take better care of the cars, yes, because it's theirs, it's their assigned car, nobody else is going to use it. So yeah, they're going to keep it clean, they're not going to scratch it, but it's going to be aesthetically pleasing, and that's about it. If they're taking the car home, they're going to put a lot of wear and tear on that engine, and that's the most expensive part of the car. So which one is more important? Which one outweighs the other? And the evidence is pretty clear. So cop cars are replaced on a mileage and age basis. Yes, a car's going to get older and there's nothing you can do about it. But mileage, hey, that adds up, and that's something you can control. And if you're taking a car home, you're kind of in control of that, and you're kind of adding to the mileage. Now, the extra use on these cars is extremely excessive, and these stats shocked me. According to KVUE News, a local Austin news station, they did a report in 2013 of the local cop cars and the mileage that they put on the cars. The Austin Police Department puts 3,500 miles per day on their vehicles, and that's $2,000 in gas per day. That's an insane amount. If you take that into a year's account, 672,000 miles are put on these vehicles, and $376,000 are spent on just gasoline. That's not including maintenance, and that's not including replacement cars. That's an absurd amount of money spent for people to do as they wish, which I'll touch upon in a second, and for such a low response rate, I'm not very sure that that's an effective use. Now, if a car can be taken home and taxpayers are paying for it, hey, there's got to be some sort of regulation, right? Well, there's not. Plain and simple. Most departments don't track their cars. The cops, the officials have no idea what the cops are doing when they take it home. For all they know, a cop could take their family out to eat, and they could take them to a movie and do as they wish. And guess what? Taxpayers are paying for the gasoline. So um, there were no regulations, according to KVU News, of the Austin Police Department. And most of them, I mean, they're going to take advantage of that, and they do. So they take their family out to eat and do as they wish, and we're paying for that. So as you can tell, there's sort of an issue, and there's things that could be fixed. Maybe it shouldn't be completely eliminated because I'm sure there are some responses that are effective. But ultimately, this problem's got to be solved. Now, how's that going to be done? We can limit the amount of cars taken home, and if we are still going to allow cars to be taken home, you can at least strategically place where they're at. You can provide a certain distance or limit to where like the highest ranking officer could take the car home and they're within like 25 miles of the next car or something. We could provide regulations of some sort to save money. Also, if they're going to take the cars home, hey, we should at least monitor what they do. If you're going to take your family out to eat, we should not be paying for that. That should be on the officer themselves. So we can provide extra regulations that will allow them to take the cars home and still use some of the tax money, but it would be used more efficiently, and then the money could be used elsewhere. And if this money is used elsewhere, that's got to improve something for you, right? So how could this improve your city if the funds are reallocated? You can improve schools. That's the main thing. If you've got a family starting up, hey, you want to send your kids to a good school. If we're not spending $376,000 on just gasoline, that's like an entire new school. That's a lot of renovations. That's a lot for a new school. You can improve roads. Being in San Antonio, we know these roads need renovations. So you can improve roads. You could renovate communal facilities and make things look nicer. And then you could increase amenities. You could build a new pool or park or something for the entire community to use. Ultimately, there would be a lot more direct benefits for you. Now, this is great and all, but I'm sure you're asking, hey, it's government stuff. What am I supposed to do? I'm not a government official. Well, here's several things you can do. The first thing is pretty easy. Speak at a city council meeting. All you got to do is look it up online. You show up, you get your point across, and you make it pretty clear. Also, showing up in numbers is a great thing. More people, more voice, more of an impact. So, hey, get your neighbors, get people that agree with you, and go and talk to the local government and try to get that policy changed. Also, you can just contact them directly. Just send letters, call, make sure it's the correct department, provide facts, prove why they should not be allowed to do this. Also, you can speak in person. Once again, you can take your neighbors up to the department. It doesn't have to be a city council meeting, but you can voice your concern face to face. You can sign a petition, get tons of signatures from neighbors, from friends that live within the city, and get your point across that way. Or ultimately, if you're extremely ambitious, you can become an office holder and become a part of the local government yourself. And then, hey, you're actually going to have people really listen to you. So ultimately, stuff's already being done about this issue. According to Tim Evans of USA Today, in Indianapolis, take-home cop cars are already becoming eliminated. The regulations on these cars are continuing to increase each day, and we're currently behind the times. We've got to do something about it. And my question for you is, are you going to make sure your money is spent well, and will your city be next?